Okay, so my name's Sarah Franklin. I work on the women's programme for GamCare, the gambling support charity, and we are working to raise awareness about women and gambling. Not only women that gamble, but also women that are disproportionately affected by their partner's gambling. And we do support and give free treatment and everything to people who are affected. So it's just really important to spread that message. And anywhere that I can get, I can talk to a different array of people. It's great because it just means that you'll all know this information now, and then you'll be able to talk to people. And if you do find, you know, a family member or a friend or something, maybe a friend of a friend of a friend, that may say their son, their daughter has got an issue with gambling, then you can pass on the information. So it's about getting that message out there. GamCare themselves have been around for 26 years and nobody's ever heard of us. So it is about shouting about it and getting that message out there. I know just before, it does say the East Midlands. I do work in the East Midlands, and as I say, me and Emma have worked together before, and she just said, would you mind coming over the border into Leeds? So that's why I'm here today. So I've already shown you this, but it is big business. The gambling industry, for 1 year alone, is worth £14.2 billion. So to put that in another way, that's how much the UK population lost to gambling. That's after the figure that is left after any money has been paid out for winnings, but before anything else goes out. So that is what they take in a year from the UK population. Yeah, it is, isn't it? That's the one thing that sits with me every time. When I first started this job, it was like, whoa, that is a lot of money. It does cost, just as an extra, I haven't got a slide on it, it is a new statistic that's come out. The economy, so the government have done some work around how much it costs the economy. So they're making 14 million or taking 14 billion pounds, but it actually costs the economy 1.4 billion in other payments. So homelessness, unemployment, health, so your mental health issues, your addiction, suicidality, all those sorts of things. So all of the imprisonment as well, because a lot of people get sent to prison every year because of it. So all of these things are costing the economy. So it's not just that they're taking the money out of people's pockets, but it's also costing us through our taxes and things as well. You might be surprised at some of the things that are on here. So this sort of side is exactly what you would think. So your casinos, your sports betting, bookmakers where you can bet on absolutely anything these days. Reality TV shows are massive. Who's going to win? Who's going to be evicted next? You can just place all these bets. Slot machines, poker, and then we move on to the online casinos, so online slots. This is the stuff that is dangerous. It can be done in secret in somebody's home. You don't have to go out to a casino anymore, or anyway, you can sit at home on your sofa, and you can even be sat next to your partner on your phone, and they might just think you're on Facebook or playing Candy Crush even. So just that, but it can be gambling and it can cost you an awful lot of money. Fixed odds betting terminals, they're the machines that are in bookmakers. So the electronic, it's basically the online gambling, but within a bookmaker's. So it's before the internet went boom. They introduced these first so that they were fixed within a bookmaker's and people could play those online games. Very, very lucrative. So they did bring in a stake limit to fixed odds betting terminals a few years ago. So the maximum stake you can place on one of those is now £2, because you could place an infinite amount of money on each game. Notice that we always use game as a terminology. The industry have got us sort of tuned into the fact that it's fun, it's games. You're not gambling, you're playing games. I always say game, and then I check myself and go, it's gambling. So they brought those stakes in, those the stake limits, but they didn't do it for online stuff when that was introduced. So people can sit at home and bet £200 a spin on the online slots, and you can have multiple reels open at the same time. So you can imagine, people lose tens of thousands of pounds in an evening playing, because you get yourself into that hole where you think you're going to win it back, and you constantly, oh, just one more, and you're getting yourself deeper and deeper into it. On this side, we've got bingo. Bingo. Yes, it's a bit of fun. Absolutely, it's a sociable night out or whatever, but it is a gateway into other activities. So if you go face to face, you're encouraged to play on the slot machines in the breaks when you're there physically. Now even you can have a tablet and you play your bingo on the tablet, and then when it comes to the break, it switches to the online slots and you have a tap for your card, so you can just pay. You don't even need to insert coins or anything anymore. You can just tap and, dead easy. So bingo is definitely a gateway gambling activity. So it's that one to be aware. If you know somebody is playing bingo regularly, just have half an eye on them. Just ask if you'll know when I get into this, I am advocating the starting of a conversation with people. The stigma and shame that's attached to it is huge. Let's start talking about it. Let's start the conversation about gambling. People are asked all the time how much they drink, how much they smoke. If they go to a gym, how much do you weigh? What's your mental health like? So it's all of those things that we just need to, do you gamble? And does it affect you? Type of question. It's because of the finances. People are just like, don't talk about it. But we need to get it out there because people are suffering. Amusement arcades at the seaside. Those 2p machines. We all love playing on those, don't we? If we win, what do we do with the 2p's? Put it all back in again. Do you ever come home with big pockets of 2p's? You play until every last one is gone, don't you? So just National Lottery. That raises lots of money for lots of good causes, but scratch cards in particular are really dangerous. People don't see them as gambling. They see them as just a bit of fun. So they go to the corner shop, the supermarket to buy them. You can't block yourself from buying scratch cards, whereas you can block yourself from internet sites and self-exclude from premises and things like that. But you can't stop yourself from buying scratch cards. If you get that urge, you can go in and get them. So it is really sort of, a lot of young people get drawn into scratch cards quite easily. All the raffles, fundraisers, all of those, we're having nice to see we're having a prize draw today, but you've bought your ticket for the afternoon tea, but you're not buying your ticket for the actual raffle. All of those fundraising things are all embedded in gambling. That's what's behind it all. So when people tell me that they never ever gamble, I always question, do you buy raffle tickets or go on a tombola or anything for a fundraiser? You do then, really. It is just embedded in our society. We've got some of these other things that I'm not going to talk too much about, but just to show you that things are changing. So loot boxes are in the Xbox and PlayStation games that young people use. You can buy boxes and you spend money on it, but you don't know what is inside that box until you've paid for it and then you open it. So that is your game of chance. That is gambling. So young people, if you ask them, do you gamble? They'll say no. But if you say, do you buy loot boxes? Almost everybody says yes. So it's Xbox, PlayStation, and computer games. So Fortnite, Roblox, FIFA, Call of Duty, all of those games that are really popular with young people. And young people are spending over £1,000 on loot boxes and things quite regularly, and taking their parents' payment card to pay for it. So just to be aware. And cryptocurrency, I'm not going to go into that. It goes over my head, to be honest. But a lot of young people, again, are getting drawn into that cryptocurrency. A lot of people on the internet, influencers, sell it. They just really, they say, I've made my millions buying this cryptocurrency. And that is it is dangerous. People are getting addicted to that element, that buying and selling of cryptocurrency. So they're just sort of things to be aware of. It's only a whistle-stop tour, so I'm not going to go into it in too much depth. With regards to who's at risk, it's my little thingy working. It's this one here. It's anybody that may not be able to make an informed and balanced decision about their gambling at any time. So using drugs or alcohol, I'm sure we've all had the odd glass of wine where we've made a rash decision afterwards. I know I've bought some stuff on the internet when I shouldn't have done because you go, oh yeah, I need that. It does impair your decision-making process. You make some risky decisions once you've had a couple of glasses of wine. So we know that if you do use drugs and alcohol regularly, that could lead you to that risky gambling. Learning disabilities or difficulties. So anybody on the autistic spectrum could be at risk. I'm not saying they are, but they are more at risk than people who aren't on the spectrum. So you've got that, to use the terminology that isn't meant to be used now, but I'm just going to lay it out there. ADHD and Asperger's in particular are really, because they have the mathematical brain and they work in formulas and things, they can beat the bookies. So that's why they do that. But the biggie really is mental health. And that's where it sort of links to why Emma's invited me today, because anybody has the risk of going into mental health crisis at any time. A relationship breakdown, the loss of somebody. We've just seen, how people do pass away very suddenly. That can throw you into that mental health crisis. But also the menopause. We know that has an impact on mental health. And we do know that the women that are coming to us are aged usually in their 40s, 50s, 60s, or even 70s. So it's those older women that are gambling.
Can I just say something as well?
Yeah.
Going back to the bingo, the online bingo is crazy. The advertising is aimed at women. Every second advert on the TV from Fox's Bingo, whatever it's called, women are sitting on a couch using a phone.
Yeah.
Women are being targeted on.
Absolutely.
Bingo.
There you go.
I read your
mind. And on cue.
Yeah.
These are some of the adverts. Yeah, I mean, and these aren't the worst ones. But it's just a few examples that we've put together, how they are really sort of focusing on women. It's still seen very much as a male pastime. So what they do is they try and appeal to women to get them to play. And as quite rightly you said, bingo, as I've said, is a gateway, because you get into the bingo and then they send you this stuff which gets you into the online slots, which are highly addictive. And just as I don't know if anybody can read this, but I'll read it out. This was actually sent to a member of our staff who has got lived experience of suffering from gambling harms. And it says, "Dear such and such, we noticed you haven't paid us a visit for quite some time now. Is everything okay? You'd be worried if someone you cared about disappeared, had gone missing for 11 months, right? So are we. We also wouldn't want you to miss all the great casino, poker deals, blah, blah, blah. Check them out on our promotions page. So basically what they're saying, she stopped gambling and they sent her this to try and encourage her in. Then they went on to say, however, if your account remains inactive until, and give her a date and a time, we will have to charge an administration fee. It's 14 pence. But you don't necessarily read that. You just go, oh, and they've done it as 14 and it's GBP, so Great British pounds. So you might think it's £14 because it's zero. They don't say 14p.
Yeah.
Should you start playing on this site before this time, no fees will be charged. So they are actively encouraging her to come back, even though she's stopped gambling with them.
Why does it sell out?
It's called blackmailing
No,
in another word.
There's
Yeah.
no
in the
regulation
language.
to stop them to do things like
Yeah.
that.
You would hope, wouldn't you?
It's criminal.
You would hope, but it's. I mean, the white paper is coming out. It's come out. The white paper has come out. There's still another year of consultation before they change the law around gambling, because we've got to talk about how it's going to impact the gambling industry, basically. First indications are that they're not going to change this. They're not going to stop that direct communication. We worked with a gentleman who lost £6.5 million gambling. He'd stopped again, and they then got in touch with him. He stopped for 5 months or whatever. They got in touch with him, and because he was such a big gambler, they said, oh, we've credited your account with £10,000. Please come back to us. What gambler can resist £10,000?
It's like alcohol
So,
addiction,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Sniffing
you
that
don't.
drink.
Yeah, you don't get Benson and Hedges handing out free cigarettes, do you? Or Smirnoff sending you free alcohol, but the gambling industry are allowed to do it. So again, what I'm doing is raising awareness that people are targeted. If you are vulnerable, if you do start spending money, you're more likely to get more of this sort of communication to keep you gambling, because they're not interested in those that win, they're interested in those that lose, and they will target. So often people are blackmailed, groomed, whatever you would want to call it, into spending more money. So they're very devious. So I'd just like to highlight that to everybody, that, you know, it's not that people fall into it or they're stupid because they're gambling. They're often manipulated into gambling.
I got a leaflet the other day from a place in Crossgates, can't tell you what, but you could go in and play bingo and whatever, and then they were giving you like free burgers and chips and things. I didn't think anything of it, but that is coercion, isn't it?
A lot of betting shops are being used as warm spaces when in the winter, when people can't afford to heat their homes. They're going into betting shops, and what they do is they give them drinks and sometimes food to keep them in there as long as they're playing. So women in particular are affected slightly differently to men. So men, when asked why they start to gamble, will often say it's because it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's exciting, it's something they do with their mates. Women, on the other hand, tend to start gambling for escape purposes. It's to distract or to forget something, or a coping mechanism. So things, I've already talked about the later in life, but it's things such as those transition periods, so children leaving home, relationship breakdown, as I said, death of somebody. It could be that they've gone back to work and are now gone back to work full time, having children, and they're finding it stressful. It could be anything like that, past trauma, abuse, they want to block it out. So anything like that, that is why women start to gamble. Women also prefer those chance-based games, so online slots, bingo, roulette, those sorts of things, quick fire, because they're trying to distract themselves, because they're trying to forget something, so they want something that is quick. Press the button. You can press the button about every 2 seconds on a online slots. And then if you've got 10 reels open, so every 2 seconds you're spinning 10 things, maybe you've got £2 on each reel, you know, you can do the maths. You can spend £1,000 in about 5-10 minutes, just gone. So because these online slots are so addictive, and they do create them to be addictive, don't be under any illusion that people are falling into this. They have psychologists working for them that actually develop games that are addictive. How can we keep people playing this for longer? Well, you don't put an annoying sound on it, you put a nice sound on it. You don't have too much harsh flashing lights, you have nice soothing lights, because it keeps people there for longer. So they do actually have psychologists working on it. And it does lead to that rapid development of a serious problem. And then finally, there are no women's services. All the gambling services have been made for white men, basically. So anybody that's ethnically diverse or a woman, there's nothing that specifically talks to you. It's all, you have to fit in with their model. So the women's programme are trying. We are trying, we are doing our best to try and introduce some services, and I'll show you just a couple in a second, but it's just about getting the message out there that women do gamble, or women are affected by other people's gambling and need their own treatment. Gambling and economic abuse, that really impacts women. As I said, women impacted by their partner's gambling. So not enough money in the household to pay for bills, taking money from maybe children's piggy banks, things like that, to use gambling. Second mortgages or loans being taken out in a partner's name without them knowing. If you live with somebody and you keep all of your documents in a folder somewhere, they have access to your birth certificate, your passport, and they can literally pretend to be you to get loans and things in your name. Now it's all done online, so you don't have to go into your bank anymore. And then finally, that coercive control and debt. So it's where you are coerced into giving a gambler money. So these in particular are what women are facing sort of every day in the gambling world. So a little bit of a visual on how many people are affected. So we've got either as a gambler or as somebody affected by gambling. So if we take 100 people, 46 of them on average have gambled in the last 4 weeks of some sort of gambling activity, whether that be the lottery, the raffles, or whether it be casinos, bookies, things like that. 5 people are at risk of becoming harmful gamblers, so gambling in a harmful way. And 1 person does become a harmful gambler. So 1 in 100 usually is the figures. Now for that 1 person, there is 8 to 10 other people impacted by their gambling. So partner, children, partner and their parents, wider family members, so grandparents, siblings, aunties and uncles, close friends, work colleagues, employer. If you are borrowing money from all of these people or not doing what you should do for these people, it's an impact. So it affects an awful lot of people every year. So just to say that that's all the depressing stuff. There is stuff out there to help. So this is the important things that you need to remember. We run the National Gambling Helpline. It's available 24/7, 365 days a year. And it's real people answering it. And anybody can call it if they are a person that gambles, or if they are an affected other, or if they're a professional and they're worried about somebody they're working with. Anybody at all can ring and just ask for help. We also offer free treatment. That's CBT and talking therapy. We dig down to why somebody is gambling. That is the important thing. We don't stick a sticking plaster over the gambling. We dig down. There's usually a reason why somebody's gambling. That is all free of charge. No waiting list. 48 hours and you're contacted after referral. If you want to refer yourself or somebody in, ring the helpline and they'll help you. So if you do want to refer somebody, just ring the helpline and they'll help you do it. We have got now a women's only chat room. Yay. And the Affected Others group. Yay. That is the only two things we've managed to do in the 4 years that we've been working in the field. Very slow progress. But at least it's a start. It's somewhere that women feel confident to talk about their gambling, because going into a Gamblers Anonymous meeting with 20 other men sat in a circle faced each other and they've got to walk in and stand up and tell their story. It's really, really, it's just not nice. So we need more women's only spaces, and then we do the outreach programs, which is myself for the women's program, and we also have a youth program going into schools talking to young people about gambling and how they shouldn't gamble in a harmful way.